There is one thing that every single human being on this planet shares, no matter where you were born, no matter what language you speak, no matter what religion you follow. We always fear the unknown things, the thing that watches you from the corner of the room, the whisper that has no mouth, the shape that disappears the moment you turn on the light. We call it by different names, we draw it differently, we tell different stories about it. But here's what nobody is talking about. They are all the same entity, and today we're going to discuss it. Across thousands of years of human history, civilizations that had zero contact with each other, separated by oceans, by mountains, by centuries, all arrived at the same conclusion. There is something out there. If there is God exists, then evils are also in this world, and people around the world call them with different names. Christianity calls it Satan, Islam calls it Iblis, Hinduism calls it the Asuras, Buddhism calls it Mara. They are not exactly the same, but they have some similarities, with different names and different faces, but the same story. A being of light that chose darkness, a war in the heavens, a fall, and then an eternal hunt for human souls. How is it possible that cultures which never met each other wrote almost the identical story? That's what we're here to find out today. We're going to travel across 6 major world religions and belief systems, and by the end of this video, you're going to see a pattern so clear, so undeniable, that you won't be able to unsee it. Let's begin. Chapter 1, Christianity, the Fallen Angel. Let's start with one of the most widespread belief systems on Earth, Christianity. Now, most people know the basics. God created everything. He created angels, beings of pure light, pure power, created to serve and worship, but one of them refused. His name was Lucifer, which in Latin literally means light bringer or morning star. He was not demon from the beginning. He was described as the most beautiful, most powerful of all God's angels. And then, pride. Lucifer decided he wanted to be God, not serve him. Be him. He reassembled 1/3 of all the angels in heaven, and they went to war. They lost, and they fell, down from the heavens, down into a place of fire, darkness, and endless suffering. And from that moment, Lucifer, now called Satan, became the ultimate enemy of humanity. But here's where it gets interesting for our story today. In Christian theology, Satan doesn't work alone. He commands an entire hierarchy of demonic beings, fallen angels, who each have specific domains of evil. Beelzebub, the lord of the flies, a demon of gluttony and corruption. Asmodeus, the demon of lust and broken marriages. Leviathan, described as a massive sea monster, a demon of envy. Belphegor, the demon of sloth, who tempts people with laziness and false wealth. And then there are what Christians call demons, evil spirits that roam the earth, looking for human bodies to possess. The Bible describes this directly. In the book of Mark, Jesus encounters a man possessed by so many demons that when asked their name, they answer, "My name is Legion, for we are many." Think about that image for a moment. A single human body, but inside it, thousands of entities. Early Christian writings describe these demons as being able to enter homes, attached to people through sin, trauma, or invitation, and slowly corrupt a person's mind, body, and spirit from the inside out. And the only way to remove them? Prayer, fasting, the name of God. This concept, possession, hierarchy of evil, a fallen leader, a war between light and dark, you're about to see it again and again and again.
Chapter 2, Islam, the world of the Jinn. Now we move to Islam, and this is where things get fascinating. Islam, like Christianity, believes in one God, Allah, and in a universe populated by more than just humans. In Islamic cosmology, God created 3 types of conscious beings. Angels, made of light, pure, without free will, they only obey God. Humans, made of clay, given free will, and jinn, made of smokeless fire. Now, jinn are not exactly ghosts, they're not exactly demons either. They are a parallel civilization living alongside humanity, invisible to us, with their own societies, families, religions, and yes, their own evil. But the story of how evil entered the world in Islam is almost shockingly similar to Christianity. When God created Adam, the first human, he commanded all beings to bow in respect to this new creation. The angels bowed immediately, but one refused: Iblis. Iblis was a jinn. Some Islamic scholars say he was the most devout, the most elevated of all jinn who had risen to live among the angels. And when God commanded him to bow to Adam, Iblis said, "I am better than him. You created me from fire. You created him from clay. Why should I bow to something lesser than me?" Pride again. God cast Iblis out, and Iblis, in his rage, made a vow: "I will lead all of humanity astray, every single one of them, except your true servants." And God said, "Then do it until the day of judgment." This is why in Islamic belief, every human being faces spiritual warfare every single day. Iblis, now called Shaitan, and his army of evil jinn are constantly whispering into human ears, trying to pull them away from God. But Islam goes even further in its description of evil entities. The jinn world has its own dark creatures. Ifrit, the most powerful and dangerous type of jinn, associated with fire, vengeance, and immense dark power. Some Islamic traditions describe them as capable of moving mountains. Marid, jinn associated with water, ancient, massive, and unpredictable. These are the beings that some scholars believe inspired the legend of the genie, though the reality is far darker. Qareen, this one will send a chill down your spine. Every single human being, according to Islamic belief, is assigned a personal jinn companion at birth, a qareen. It knows everything about you, your fears, your sins, your weaknesses, and it spends your entire life whispering to you, trying to lead you toward destruction. You were never alone, not once in your life. And then there are the ghouls, shape-shifting jinn that haunt deserts and graveyards, feeding on the dead and luring travelers to their deaths.
Chapter 3. Hinduism, the oldest darkness. Now we go back, far back, to what many scholars consider the world's oldest living religion, Hinduism. Unlike Christianity and Islam, Hinduism is not monotheistic in the same way. It has a vast, complex cosmology with hundreds, some say millions of God, each representing different aspects of one ultimate divine reality. But the darkness in Hinduism, just as complex, just as powerful. Let's start with the most famous evil in Hindu cosmology, the Asuras. The Asuras are a race of powerful beings, almost like gods themselves, but they chose power over righteousness. Here's the incredible parallel. In ancient Hindu texts, the Asuras and the Devas, the gods, were brothers. They came from the same divine father, Kashyapa. Kashyapa has two wives, Aditi and Diti. Aditi gave birth to Deva, and Diti gave birth to Asura. They were created equal. But the Asuras chose a path of ego, power, and darkness. Sound familiar? The most famous Asura is Ravana, the 10-headed demon king of Lanka, who kidnapped the goddess Sita in the epic Ramayana. Ravana was not born evil. He was an incredibly learned, powerful, even devout being who let pride and desire corrupt him completely. Then there are the Rakshasas, demon warriors, shapeshifters. They are described as eating human flesh, disrupting sacred rituals, and possessing the living. Ancient texts describe them as capable of appearing as beautiful people, as loved ones, even as holy men, before revealing their true nature. But Hinduism's horror doesn't stop with demons. There's an entire category of ghost-like beings that haunt the living.
Preta, the hungry ghost. A preta is a human soul that died with intense desires unfulfilled, greed, addiction, obsession. They are described as having enormous bodies but tiny mouths, forever starving, unable to consume enough to satisfy their hunger. They wander the earth, invisible, suffering endlessly. Brahma Rakshasa, the ghost of a Brahmin, a scholar or priest who misused sacred knowledge. These are considered among the most dangerous spirits in Hindu folklore, highly intelligent, deeply malevolent, and almost impossible to appease. Vetalas, corpse-possessing spirits. They inhabit dead bodies and animate them, using the body to move through the world. The famous story of Vikram and Betal, where a vampire like Vetala poses riddles to a king, is one of the oldest ghost stories in human history, predating most Western horror by over 1,000 years. Churel, the ghost of a woman who died during pregnancy or childbirth. She returns with her feet facing backwards and specifically targets young men from her own family, draining their life force. Now, here's the thing that connects Hinduism to every other religion we've discussed: the concept of cosmic war. In Hinduism, the universe is constantly in a state of war between the Devas, forces of light, order, and dharma, and the Asuras, forces of darkness, chaos, and ego. This war has raged since the beginning of creation. It will rage until the end, and human souls are the battlefield.
Chapter 4. Buddhism and East Asian Beliefs, the Hungry Ghosts. Buddhism began in India and spread across Asia, into China, Japan, Korea, Tibet, Southeast Asia, and everywhere it went, it carried its own conception of spiritual darkness. Buddhism's central villain is not a demon exactly, it's something more philosophical. His name is Mara. Mara is described as the personification of temptation, illusion, and death. When the Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree, about to achieve enlightenment, Mara appeared and launched a massive assault, not with physical weapons, but with desire, fear, and doubt. He sent his daughters to tempt the Buddha. He sent his armies to terrify him. He used every psychological weapon available. The Buddha didn't fight back with power. He simply touched the earth, as if to say, "I am grounded. I am real. You are an illusion." And Mara dissolved. But in Buddhist cosmology, Mara still roams the world, working through human attachment, greed, and fear. Buddhism also carries the concept of the hungry ghost realm, one of 6 realms of existence a soul can be reborn into. Just like the Hindu Preta, beings trapped in a state of endless craving, with enormous stomachs and needle-thin throats, unable to ever consume enough to feel satisfied. This realm is not just a metaphor in Buddhist tradition, it's a literal place of suffering that souls cycle through when they die consumed by addiction, greed, or obsession. In Japanese Buddhism and Shinto, this blends into some of the most iconic horror imagery in the world. Onryo, vengeful female spirits, women who died with intense grief, jealousy, or rage. They return with black hair covering their faces, pale skin, twisted bodies, and they are very hard to appease. The ghosts from The Ring and The Grudge are directly based on this tradition. Yurei, general ghosts of the dead who cannot move on, attached to the physical world by strong emotion. Oni, massive, club-wielding, demon-like beings that punish the wicked, often depicted as red or blue-skinned with horns. Tengu, mysterious mountain spirits, sometimes benevolent, sometimes terrifying. Here's the connection. Every single one of these entities exists because of unresolved spiritual debt, unfulfilled desire, unrepented sin.
The mechanism of haunting across Buddhism and East Asian beliefs is almost identical to Christianity's doctrine of souls who die in a state of spiritual incompleteness.
Chapter 5. The Pattern. What are we really looking at? So now, let's step back, way back. We've traveled through Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, and East Asian traditions. We've looked at beings from completely different cultures, completely different time periods, separated by oceans and centuries, and we've found the same story, told over and over. Let me show you the pattern. Pattern 1, the fallen one. In almost every tradition, evil is not an equal opposite of God. It was created good and chose darkness. Lucifer, Iblis, the Asuras, Mara. Pride was always the first sin. Pattern 2, the hierarchy of evil. Every tradition describes evil as organized: Satan and his demons, Iblis and his Jinn, the Asura races, Mara's armies. Evil has rank, it has specialization, different demons for different human weaknesses. Pattern 3, the possessed body. Every tradition, without exception, describes evil spirits entering human bodies. Christianity, demonic possession. Islam, jinn possession. Hinduism, Vetalas, Bhutas. Buddhism, various spirit attachments. The mechanism is the same. The entry points are the same: weakness, grief, sin, invitation. Pattern 5, the hungry ghost. Both Hinduism and Buddhism independently developed the concept of the hungry ghost, souls tormented by insatiable craving. Two different traditions, the same exact image. Pattern 6, cosmic war, human battlefield. Every single tradition frames human existence as caught in the middle of a war between light and darkness. You didn't choose to be on the battlefield, but you have to choose which side you're on.
Now, what do we do with this information? There are 3 possible explanations, and I want you to sit with all 3. Explanation 1. All these cultures independently arrived at these same truths because they are real. There are actual spiritual entities, and human beings, regardless of culture, can perceive them. The stories match because the reality matches. Explanation 2. These beliefs all trace back to a common ancestor, a shared primordial human culture tens of thousands of years ago that had its own spiritual system, and as humanity scattered across the earth, they carried fragments of those original stories with them. The details diverged, the core remained. Explanation 3. These stories emerge because of universal human psychology. We fear the unknown. We feel watched in the dark. We experience intrusive thoughts and call them demons. The mind creates mythology to explain experiences it cannot rationalize. Which explanation is correct? Maybe all 3. Maybe none. But here's what I know for certain. The darkness that humanity has feared since the beginning of recorded history, it has a face, many faces, and across every culture, every religion, every century, it is the same darkness. So the next time you feel something in a dark room, the next time the air changes and the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, remember, you are not the first. Billions of human beings across thousands of years in every corner of this planet felt exactly what you are feeling right now, and they all agreed on one thing: it's real. Whether you believe in God or not, whether you follow any religion or none, the darkness has been documented, witnessed, survived. The only question left is, what do you believe? If this video sent a chill down your spine, you know what to do. Subscribe, because we're just getting started. Next video, we're going even deeper. See you in the dark.